great faith of Abraham, his willingness to obey God and kill his own son, is unprecedented. Paul celebrates it. He talks about the great, wonderful obedience of Abraham, and we all say that we wish that we could be as obedient as Abraham was, taking his son and getting the knife ready to kill him because God had said so. Something disturbing about that. Deanna Laney, back in 2003, it was Mother's Day, just past midnight. And she woke up, she had been having these visions, so to speak. This idea that the end of the world was coming and that she had to get her house ready. That was what she said in church, in her apostolic church. She said, God is coming back, and we have to get our houses ready. And so when her 14-month-old son was walking around in the yard carrying a little stick like it was a spear, she saw that as a sign from God that it was coming closer, that it was impending. The end was really, really close. And so that morning she went and got her 6-year-old son Luke and put him in a different room from his brother Joshua. And then she went to her 14-month-old son where she and her husband slept. And earlier that day, the boys had come with a rock. The boys had brought a rock to her. She saw this as a sign that she had to do something to keep her children from suffering because a terrible end was coming. And then, when the other son came later with the little frog, she saw it as signs of the plague, so she knew that the time had come. And so she took her 14-month-old son, took a rock, and brought it down on his head. She then took her 6-year-old son, took him outside in his underwear, took a rock, and killed him with it, and did the same with her 8-year-old son. She told God that God would have to finish the job with the 14-month-old because she realized that he was still breathing. She called 911, said that she had killed her sons. Now, hopefully that's disturbing because it's just downright sick. And the fact that we celebrate Abraham being willing to do the same thing, I think is sick too. I think it's to miss the story, the real meaning of the story. To think that this story is just about a man who is disturbed enough that he heard the voice of God telling him to kill his son, and that he went and did it. Picture this journey. God tells him, Abraham, who had been promised that he would have a nation of people that outnumbered the stars and the grains of sand, and that it would happen through this son. But they couldn't conceive, so he had a son Ishmael through his maidservant. But then later, when Sarah was finally able to conceive, they had a child, Isaac. But God told Abraham, you must take him to Mount Moriah and sacrifice him. Make of him a burnt offering. What did Abraham say to Sarah when he left? This was a big deal that Sarah finally had Isaac. She'd been waiting for this for a long time. And then here's Abraham, 100-and-some years old, telling his wife, we're just going to go out for a walk. We'll be back in 3 days. He takes him out there for 3 days. He's walking to this mountain where he's preparing to do something horrible. Can you imagine what the conversation must have been? Where are we going, Dad? Oh, we're just going to the mountain. I'm taking you on a hiking trip. Oh, that's fun. Well, what's all this stuff, the wood and the ropes and all that stuff? What's that for? Oh, we're going to have a sacrifice. Oh, cool. What are we going to sacrifice? Oh, God will provide that. Don't worry about that, Isaac. Everything will be fine. It's disturbing. But see, it's disturbing because we don't get the story. We hear the story in our heads the way it's been told to us through all these generations, all these years. But that's not really how the story went. See, first of all, Isaac, if you calculate the chronology, Isaac was somewhere between 17 and 37 years old. Isaac wasn't a little boy. That's how we picture him in the story. He wasn't. He was a grown man. He could have done whatever he needed to protect himself. You notice when it said that Abraham took 2 men and they set out on the journey, And then they came to a certain point, and he went on with Isaac. He told them, we will be back. Wait here, we will be back. And then when Isaac said, what are we going to sacrifice? He said, don't worry, Isaac. He wasn't being glib. He was being serious. God will provide the sacrifice. Abraham knew that he wasn't going to be sacrificing his son. And Isaac knew what was going on. He was a big boy. He could have taken his 100-something-year-old father and thrown him off the mountain if he wanted to. But he chose to go along with it. He chose to go along with it. And that's why this story is called Al-Heda, which means the binding. The story is called the binding of Isaac. But Isaac willingly let himself be bound so that God could provide. That was a strange situation. How could anything good come from this? What's going to come out of this to do such a weird act? But that is the way so many things are. So many things that we don't understand. Like, I know I need to do this, but I don't get how any good is going to come out of it. But somehow, some way, it does. You notice God said, Abraham, now I know. Now I know. We hear that as if God was testing Abraham. He wasn't. God didn't know. God did not know what Abraham was going to do. Any more than God knows what we are going to do from day to day on a daily basis. Knowing that our actions, that our words affect those who we're in relationship with, those who are around us. God does not know what we're going to do. In every situation, there are numerous possibilities, numerous directions that we can take with our words and our actions, but we choose them at the moment. God has no idea where we're going to take them. All we know is that God is going to take it, whatever it is, redeem it, and make of it something good, even when we don't understand. See, I've always said when we read these stories, if it says, and after that, right, and then, see, when we see a passage that starts that way, we know something came before it, and it's usually worth going back and seeing what it was. So this story with Isaac and Abraham says, after that, God came to Abraham and said, take your beloved son and make of him a burnt sacrifice. After what? Well, if you rewind to the chapter before, you have God telling, actually it was at first Sarah who wanted Hagar out of there along with Ishmael. Right? She's got her own son now. She's got Isaac. She doesn't want Ishmael around anymore. He was about 13 years old. She wants him out. She says, Abraham, you got to get this step-kid out of here. I don't want him here anymore. I've got my own son. And Abraham distresses. This is my son. This is my firstborn child. What do you mean I got to get rid of him? And God comes to him and says, Abraham, do what she says. Get him out of here. Send him and Hagar off. Just trust that the best will happen. And so the story goes, Hagar and Ishmael go out into the wilderness and they're wandering and they're literally starving to death. They're about to die because they've got no food and no water. So Isaac at 13 years old is literally at his dying point from thirst. And Hagar can't stand to watch it happen. So she leaves him in a thicket of trees and she says she walks away to a distance where she couldn't see him closely enough to watch him suffer. And then all of a sudden, a well appears. And there it is. The sustenance that's needed. The water that is needed to keep both of them alive, to keep the story going, to make a happy ending out of something that could have been utterly horrific. And just like at the moment that the story could have gone really, really bad for Isaac, the ram appears, horns stuck in the thicket. Sounds like food to me. Sounds like God once again providing sustenance, where the simple actions of a human being, just a small little thing, turn into something big by the power of God. Because it's just like these words that Jesus says. Whenever you offer water in the name of a prophet, the prophet is offering the water. God doesn't know what we're going to do. From moment to moment, we make our own decisions. But we do know, whatever it is, no matter how small, no matter how seemingly inconsequential it is, we know that God will provide, that God will take that and make of it something special. So today, as we prepare for our annual meeting, we don't know where we are going to go, but we do know every little word, every little action, everything done with a heart of goodness, passion, love, and respect for those in here and those around us, we know that God will take that and make of us something great and make of our actions something unprecedented, because we know that we didn't do it by ourselves.